Hi, my name is Bo. I'm the CEO and founder of BOLVERK XR. We produce high quality VR training for the airline sector, and today I would like to tell you about VR. I'd like to tell you about VR in a training scenario and how it can benefit your operation. All right. So, in the entire history of human life, we always sought to move away from reality. So, we invented texts and we wrote stories and read other people's stories. We're moving away from our own reality. We're trying to communicate a story to somebody using text. At some point, we invented moving images, and that was a new way of communicating an emotion, of teaching, of telling a story, of teaching you something. And now we've a step further. We're in a virtual environment. In virtual reality, you can communicate directly to people's emotions. And we can use that in training. And today I'm going to tell you how. So, back in the days, VR was a big thing, a massive piece of equipment that you put on your head. It costs a fortune and it wasn't very good. It basically gave you a Tron-like stick figure kind of experience. But today, we can wirelessly and without a PC connected, give you a full immersive training environment to train in. Using a headset like the one I have here and nothing else. Using the controllers for your hands, we can give you a full simulation of any aircraft you would like. Taking a step back and talking about what kind of consciousness are you talking to? So with the text, you're actually trying to communicate something from you, written down, read aloud by somebody else. So there's a big gap between who's communicating and who's receiving the communication. With a moving image, a video like the one you're seeing now, the gap is smaller because you can see my reaction. I can try to make you feel in a specific way. But with VR, you are feeling the emotion and your body is performing the actions. So with VR, we're communicating directly to your emotions and using your muscle memory, which is the first thing I'm going to talk about in regards to VR training. Procedures, doing A, B, C, D in the correct order and the correct way is the way we train in the airline sector. So everything has a procedure, and as a cabin attendant or even a pilot, you'll have to know and be able to complete the sequence of events, the procedure, in the correct way every time. And not only that, you have to be able to do it under pressure.
Oh, we have an oven fire! I'll pull the circuit breakers. And take the fire extinguisher. I'll take the candle into the fire. So, extinguished. Put on smoke hood.
So when we talk about procedures, there's a couple of things that's important to know. So through repeating the procedure, you will learn it better. But also through doing the procedure, you'll learn it better. So these are the two things that we are going to talk about: the role of VR in performing the procedure and repeating the procedure again and again. So in traditional training, you have a manual, you read what the procedure is, and probably you're in some kind of a simulator situation, maybe 15, maybe 20 people, one instructor, and they get to complete the procedure maybe one, maybe two times. And then you're supposed to know it. And if you don't know it by heart, you're supposed to read it again. As we discussed before, reading something is not a good way of memorizing anything, really. Doing something is a very good way of memorizing something. And this all boils down to how does memory work? So memory works in the way that you attach items together and then you remember them. So reading something is not enough for you to really remember it, but attaching it to something is how you build a memory. So in a scenario of the airline training, when you're in the simulator, you have read it, you've been told, and then you attach it to the actual movement of doing it. But then comes the factor of repetition. So hand on your heart, honestly, how many times does your cabin attendant disarm a door during a recurrent training? I'm guessing here 1, 2 times. How many times do they disarm a door? How many times do they open the door? How many times do they fight a fire in the oven? How many times do they actually blow a slide? How many times have they ditched the slide in a water landing scenario? I'm guessing that all these answers are going to be low in numbers. That brings me to repetition. So in order to really know a procedure, you need to repeat it again and again and again. Okay? With VR, we can repeat it again and again and again in a very cost-efficient manner because many people can train at the same time and they can reopen the door. So the cost of actually blowing a slide is 0. So we can blow all the slides we want. So in a traditional training scenario with our clients, a normal cabin attendant will open the door during door training probably 20 times. And at the same time, disarm and arm the door 20 times. And not only have they repeated it 20 times, they have also done it. And by done it, I mean they have used their body to physically go down, to physically look out at the outside surroundings, the outside conditions. They physically grabbed the wall-mounted assist handle. They physically grabbed the handle. They physically moved it up. And they physically pushed out the door. So they have attached memories to actions. That's what we call muscle memory. So with muscle memory and with repetition, you can learn procedures a lot better, a lot faster, and a lot more cost efficient.
Smoke it on. Going to take the 5 gloves. 5 gloves on. Container down.
Take your time. You'll extinguish the fire, so you have plenty of time now.
Going to take the item in the oven. And soaking it.
So we've talked about how you remember things, how we through motor memory and repetition learn procedures. But let's talk about a pitfall here. So learning a procedure has no value if it's negative learning, if you're learning the wrong procedure. So again, think back to the simulator scenario. You have 20 people there. The cabin attendant on row 4 looking at the instructor at the door while he's explaining. So you have there's a threat of negative learning there. You can learn the procedure wrong and you might not even catch it. With VR software, we can record every movement that you do and pit it against your airline's procedure. And we can actually, without the instructor being involved, have people demonstratively do the correct procedure and even stopping them midway if they pass a point and they do the wrong thing at that point in the drill. For example, if you're opening the door and one of your procedure steps was to hold on to the wall-mounted assist handle while pushing open the door, we can, in the VR scenario, detect if you're holding the wall-mounted assist handle or not. And as soon as you open the door without holding the wall-mounted assist handle, we can stop you and say, uh-oh, you forgot to hold on to the wall-mounted assist handle, please try again. And get the cabin attendant to do the same procedure over and over until the procedure has been done correctly. Just like the instructor is doing at the physical door of the model, we can do it, but we can have 20 people practicing at one time. And we can have them do it until they know how to do it. We can even have them do it until they know how to do it 10 times in a row without adding extra cost. So motor memory, repetition, and no negative learning. That's what you can get from VR. All right, so let me take you through what the instructor does in a VR training scenario. So it doesn't really differ that much from what the instructor does right now. His tool is a little bit different. He'll be using an iPad, and from the iPad, he can see into the virtual world of every one of his classmates. He can follow their every movement and their progress in the drill. From the screen, he can help, he can guide, he can take questions and answer them while seeing what they're seeing in the virtual world. But moreover, he can see a minute-to-minute progress report on all of his students. Are they passing the drills that you've assigned to them? Are they fighting the fire correctly? And that brings me to the last topic of this presentation, which we call evidence-based training. I know that's a thing that you guys are talking about. The whole airline sector is talking about evidence-based training, but what does that actually mean? So evidence-based training is recording data about the training you're doing and using that data to make better training tomorrow. In a VR simulation, we can record every movement, every gaze. Where is the user's focus and attention at any given time? Where is his eyes diverted to while he was supposed to be watching this? What did he look for when he was supposed to pull the circuit breakers? He was looking for the gloves. We can record all of these points of data and show them to you in a clear and concise way, communicating where are the little gaps in knowledge that your airline is struggling with. For example, it counts the times an error has been made. If you're thinking about the door training scenario from before, one of the things that we see is that forgetting to grab the wall-mounted assist handle is one of the most common mistakes amongst airlines. Forgetting to check for outside conditions is another one of the high scorers. It might be different for your airline. So with evidence-based training coupled with VR, you can design the way that you train based on the data that you generate for every training session. So with VR, using muscle memory, using repetition, avoiding negative learning, and learning from the data, that's the combo that VR training can give to your airline organization. And just one more thing. Think of all the things that I've just said and apply that to team-based training. Because with virtual reality, regardless of your location, where you physically are in the world, you can be in the same virtual aircraft with your colleagues and train as a team. You can hand each other the fire extinguisher in a fire drill scenario. You can even, as an instructor, participate in the same virtual aircraft and show people around during a cabin visit. All of these things are something we can do with virtual reality in a multiplayer scenario. And think about the next pandemic. So when COVID-20 hits the world, how are you going to train your crew when they're locked down at home? How are you going to make sure that they remain in certification while the pandemic is hitting the world? You do that by giving them access to virtual reality from their own living room and meeting them in the cabin for a cabin visit, meeting them in the cabin for a fire drill scenario together with the team that they're flying on the next flight. So are you ready for that? Let's get ready for that.